Well, coasters, we're in Hokitika, where The Gentle Giant, written by Russell King's just been released, and it's about Hokitika's All Black captain, Ron King, and it's very fitting that the town clock's in the background. Russell, good to see you home.
Home, Bruce. A great place to be.
It's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, and I love your town. And I love the Hokitika pies.
They were right, weren't they?
Yeah, they're jolly good.
Now tell me, the book's being released in the next few days, and you've got a website.
Yep.
What's the website again?
The website's gentlegiants.nz.
Yep.
And on there you can buy from the publishers, or you can buy direct at a little less cost.
Oh, a wee bit cheaper?
It's a surprisingly expensive operation to produce a book like this. If I'd known what I was up for when I started, I probably wouldn't have done it. No, that's not the motivation at any rate. But they each come with a bookmark and happy to put a message on it if you want to gift the book to someone.
Well, there we go, folks. It's called The Gentle Giant, and it's on tour with the Jubilee All Blacks, and the All Black captain at one stage, Ron King, Hokitika boy. So is Russell. So is the King family, and it's just so good to see you home. Now, if you want to order a book, just click on the link below and push the button. I've read the book. I can absolutely recommend it. I've learned so much by reading the book. And Russell, you must have researched this thing for a number of years. This isn't a 5-minute project, is it?
No, it's taken a long time to put together, and it's more about the times than about the rugby itself. The rugby, of course, is an important theme right through the story. Yeah. But it just amazed me to find some of the things that my dad had done 80 years ago, and luckily during the period where I've been putting it together, I've been able to stay in some of the hotels and visit some of the hotels that they stayed in, and it's all very meaningful and sort of nostalgic, but it's been good fun to do.
Well, I think it's brilliant, and look, I know so many people who say, look, we must write a book, and you know what, they never do.
Right.
Well,
there was a hell of a lot of book writing done, and this book was finished off for COVID, so we've got to be grateful for some of the impediments that we come across in our lives, because they make the way clear for us to go ahead.
Well, there we go, coasters. Russell King, the book's about to be released. You'll be able to go online. By the time you see this post, it'll be online. You'll be able to buy the book. It's called The Gentle Giant, and it's about a Hokitika family, a Hokitika man who, until a few months ago, I had no idea that on the coast we had an All Black captain. So Russell, well done in collecting the history, and best of luck with the book, and it's great to see you home.
Thanks, Bruce.
Well, coasters, we're at the Arahura Marae, and with Russell King, the author of Gentle Giant. Russell, you've got some neat memories of growing up on the coast. What do you remember about this place?
Well, years and years ago, when I was quite small, my dad brought me down to Willie Tainui's funeral, and I'd never been to a Maori funeral, and it was quite intimidating. We came down in the rail car and got off, and my dad fraternised with the family because he believed that Willie Tainui had a great future. He was a West Coast winger, but my dad reckoned he'd make the All Blacks eventually, and unfortunately he died. And so we came down to this funeral at Arahura, and it was my first experience of that sort of gathering. The wailing of the women,
the Wahinis,
the Wahinis, the way they did things was all strange to me, intimidating, I guess.
So how old would you have been then?
Oh, I would have been 6 or 7, maybe 8.
Yeah.
It was certainly before we had a car, so we relied on the rail car to come down to Arahura.
And did Arahura have a railway station?
Yeah, there was a railway station at Arahura. Oh. The rail car stopped there every day. That was the commute, because people in those days didn't have cars. It was not long after the war, and if you had a car, you were pretty up there. So we came down, and of course the coffin was carried from the pa over the road, across the railway line, and up the hill to the cemetery, the Urapura,
Yes. Yeah.
here on the hill, so on this side.
Very moving.
Very moving, quite frightening, but a great memory to have.
Now, your dad at the time would have been All Black.
Oh no, this was
Before
past this
that?
time. No, after this time, he'd be coaching rugby on the coast then. I think his first year as a West Coast selector coach
Right.
was about 1947. So it would be in that period where he was developing a West Coast side that was a pretty good side. People like well-known Hokitika people like Eric Walker and Ray Breeze and the Stoop brothers, Rex and Merle, Johnny Robinson, Gundy McLean, Dowie Eastgate.
Oh gosh.
You know, they were all part of that mould that developed into a really good West Coast side that were unbeaten for some years in the Southern Shield districts and boxed above their weight at a major level. They gave Canterbury a run for their money on the two matches they had each year. They had one always at Queen's Birthday in Grey, and then later on in Christchurch in September or October.
And Russell, the Ron, your dad, moved on then to become a New Zealand selector.
Yes, that was in the early 1960s.
Yep.
No, late 1950s he became a New Zealand selector. And then when he came back to the coast in 64, he did another stint for 4 or 5 years where he developed a new team of young West Coasters who did pretty well. You know, his philosophy, he was a 15-man player. He wasn't really, he wanted a champion team, not a team of champions, as the colloquial saying these days goes. But he was keen for fitness, ball skills, those sorts of things that were simple things, but are done well and done as a team. Discipline, you know. Turn up to training or you don't get a game on a Saturday.
Oh, I love it.
That sort of guy.
Well, look,
and that was the character that was inculcated in him in that tour that we write about in the book, where there is discipline. You know, you play by the rules or you don't play.
well, look, coasters. Russell and I are at the Arahura Marae. It's a good cloudy day, so a good day for filming. And some memories there. Now, if you want to buy the book, it's called The Gentle Giant. I've attached the website below this post. Just click on it. This is a book that every coaster, every rugby fanatic from around New Zealand needs to own. I didn't know that Hokitika was the home of Ron King, All Black captain. I didn't know until I bumped into Russell King. Russell, well done, and we'll keep moving, eh?
Thanks, Bruce.
Well, coasters, with Russell King, the author of Gentle Giant. What does it look like, Russell? What's the book look like?
Oh,
What have we got there?
that's my dad is a scrum machine, and I had a good friend who was able to capitalise on my requirement, my suggestion that we should turn the old man, and I hate that term, into a scrum machine, but I think it's pretty appropriate.
Look, I think it's awesome. Now we're here at Arahura. Now special memories in that book that coasters will love to read about. And coasters, don't worry about the trucks. I tell you, if there was none, I'd be worried. Now, Russell, what happened at Arahura that really stuck with the family?
Well, Saturday, 27 July in 1935, my dad took off from Hokitika in their old Austin 12. I can still remember my granddad's car. And when they got over the old Arahura Bridge, they were stopped by a group of people from the Ngāti Wairau people from the marae, and they presented Dad with a greenstone tiki and wished him well on his way with this good luck charm.
Isn't that fantastic?
It's an amazing.
So they would have
situation.
they'd have come out of the par,
Yep.
and stopped the car. I guess this would have been a gravel road back then, I suppose.
I presume so,
Yeah,
Bruce.
yeah, guaranteed.
Yep.
And now look, Ron King, tell us a little bit about Ron King, because this is for me this is a voyage of discovery. The Gentle Giant, it really is.
Well, he's he was never one for the limelight, but he worked pretty hard. He grew up in Hokitika, well, born in Waiuta, went to school in Hokitika. He played his first rugby for the first 15 as a primary school boy, and the reason for that, David Stapleton told me, and you know what a great historian David is. David said that the school was consolidated in those days, so it wasn't that unusual that a fairly athletic young fellow would make the wing on the first 15 in standard 6, and then he went on and he stayed 5 years. In those days they called it matriculated, and in that last year he was 18 by that time. He represented West Coast as a winger, and then as he got a little bit older and he developed physically, he changed to become a lock forward, which developed into 1933 South Island trials, 1934 into the All Blacks for a trip to Australia, and then one of the first selection they named a group of 10 people and told them to go home and pack their bags before the final trials. In the 1935 series of trials, there was 9 or 10 trials right around the country to select this team to go to England, and then beyond that, of course, he by accident in 1937 he became captain of the All Blacks. His mate, his great footballing mate Brushy Mitchell, should have been the captain, but he broke his leg in the final trials. So in 37, 38 again, he went to Australia. There was no All Black team in 39. At 40 they were to go to South Africa, but the war intervened with that tour, and had he gone on that tour, he needed to play only 2 more matches, and he would have been the most capped All Black of all time at that time.
Wow.
You know, now they play so many matches in a year, you lose fingers and toes counting them, but in those days, three games in a year. So he played 42 matches for the All Blacks, never missed a test from that second test in 1934 till the war.
And so we as coasters, we get to claim Ron King as an All Black and All Black captain. In fact, our only All Black captain that's ever been. And the book Gentle Giant, coasters, if you have a look at once again at the Russell's got it there. You can buy it. I've put a link at the bottom of the page here. Now it's a limited edition, so you don't want to muck around too long. And part of the story that's in the book is how the people of Ngāti Waiwai came out, stopped the car that Ron was in, and presented him with a greenstone. Was it tiki? Was it
tiki? Yeah,
isn't that fantastic?
It is.
Hey, we'll keep walking, eh?
Yep.
Well, folks, we're in Bealey Street, and this is the home of Ron King, the All Black captain, and I'm with Russell King today, and Russell's new book. Can we have a look at it there, Russell? The Gentle Giant. It's about an All Black captain, and the family's from Hokitika. And Russell, where are we here?
Well, we're in Bealey Street, and this is where my dad grew up.
Yeah.
And there was this the common driveway went down between my dad's uncle Fred and Auntie Marion. They lived on the riverside, and Alex and Alexander and Daisy Burrows lived on the right hand side. And right at the back there was their my granddad's big sort of engineering workshop shed, and it was a formidable place. It seemed to me like a big factory, but it probably was really quite small, because this must have been in the middle 1940s that I remember them. And then over the road, on this side of the road,
right,
was the Pettigrews and the Merriweathers.
So they were basically in the houses that are here.
Yeah,
that's a beautiful hedge, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So this is the scene, and I remember coming down here, and my granddad had made for me a little steam engine, and it had a unit that you filled with methylated spirits, and you put it under, and set the little boiler going. He's a really clever man.
And actually, and it worked, of course.
Oh yeah, it worked like well. He was an interesting character, gruff old bugger, but and he seemed obviously very old to me, as sort of the little boys that your grandfathers often are. But he went to work at Waiuta, and that's where my dad was born,
Yeah.
for a period as the Mr. Fix-It man, and he had a reputation for being able to just sort of fix anything engineering wise. And so they had when they were living at Waiuta at the mine, and the mine was being developed, he lived in a company house. He was a company man rather than a miner.
Right.
But then he came back to Hokitika, and
So Ron, your father, the All Black captain, he was born in Waiuta.
yep.
And have you been up there lately?
Oh yes,
Isn't it fantastic?
It's a lovely place, and sadly, on the back flap of the book, where I didn't want it to be about me, but you have to have something about who the author is.
Oh, of course you do.
There's a photograph of me at Waiuta, but unfortunately the Waiuta sign is cut out. But Waiuta is a marvellous place, and I'll tell you what, the Friends of Waiuta are a remarkable organisation who do a wonderful job.
Look, I went up there recently, and I spent the whole day just wandering around. I should have been there for 3 days.
Did you take your swimming togs and swim with the tadpoles in the swimming pool?
No, I never. But look, I went to the Waiuta Lodge, on the top of the hill there, and had a look at the workings, had a look at all of the areas they've set up, and learned a lot about where the tunnels were.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realise there were two.
Every real West Coaster needs to know about Waiuta, and they should be taking an interest in it now because of the development that's going on there.
Yeah.
And instead of going in from the top, they're going in from Blackwater and going along the bottom, and let's hope they're very successful, because it'll be great for the economy in the area.
Well, there we go, folks. That's Russell King, the author of the book Gentle Giant. Can I have a look at the book there again, Russell? So there we go, folks. Now, Russell's got a website, and it's called thegentlegiant.nz. I've got
Just Gentle Giant, not the.
Yeah.
Gentlegiant.nz.
.nz. And the links on the bottom of this post. There's a limited number of books that he's published. They're a must. If you're a coaster, when I read it, I learned so much, and I wander around a fair bit, as you know, but I've come across so many things I just had no idea about. And one of them was really the history of Ron King, the All Black captain, living in Hokitika. And I just had never ever cottoned onto it properly. Russell, you've done an amazing job with the book. The research is incredible. And coasters, I reckon we get him behind this fella.
Oh, you're kind, Bruce. I've told you that, and it's getting embarrassing.
Catch you later. Well, coasters, I'm with Russell King, and Russell's the author of the book Gentle Giant. It's a book about Ron King. Now, Ron King and the King family, Hokitika people. He's All Black. He was an All Black captain. You know, when you look round and you say, is there anybody in our area that's performed better at a national level? No, probably not. Now, Russell, we're in the old Excelsior club rooms, which feature a lot in your book. But can we just have a look at your book there?
Yeah, right. Gentle Giant, yep.
Can you lift that up a bit so we can actually see it? That's better. Gentle Giant. And I've had the pleasure of reading it, coasters, and tell you what, I've learned so much. Russell, what set you off on the journey? You've been on this for 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
What happened?
When I was, how do I put this without being offensive? It concerned me that my dad's prowess on the football field was not recognised, either nationally or locally.
Yeah.
And I decided I wanted to do something about it, and I got off my high horse eventually, and decided that I got very interested in the times that he played and the way that rugby was so different. And out of the blue, I came across an article by a writer in the Otago Daily Times who talked about things of the past. And he talked about, he made mention of my dad's prowess on the football field, but what a good guy he was off the field. and I met Gordon Parry, and we talked about the changes that have happened to the way we do things, and the way that he used the phrase that sort of television is the god, and rugby we play these days to satisfy it's governed. The times we watch rugby are governed by what is the best value for Sky, for their patronage, for their support.
Yeah.
And so I got interested in the way they toured, the way they did things differently, the conduct that was expected of rugby players off the field. It was just as important as on the field. And I also got interested in the way that the games were written up, because it was a time before television, and certainly radio was pretty scratchy. So, and the writers of the day described the scene, the clouds of cigarette smoke on a damp day in the winter in England. Those sorts of things caught my interest, and so I got into studying what they did and where they went, and I was lucky enough to have some good friendships with, and to make some good friendships with the offspring of some of my dad's rugby cohorts.
Russell, look, I've read the book. I would imagine you might have ruffled a few feathers at Union headquarters.
Well, I don't think I think when they read about the English test and the drama at the end of the tour,
yeah.
There's some aspects of the history that I don't think have been properly recorded before. It was a very interesting time. They had played up to that stage 27 matches. The 28th match was the final English international, and before that match they would have a few days off in Brighton, which wasn't part of the rugby tour.
Right.
And the Mayor of Brighton had arranged for the locals to entertain them in small groups on New Year's Eve.
Oh, how did that go?
And there was a guy who they were to stay at a hotel called the Royal Albion, which appealed to me because it had a link with my family hotel, which originally was the Albion in Greymouth.
Right.
And the owner of the hotel on the day before Christmas Eve contacted Vincent Meredith, the manager of the All Blacks, to say, hey, he couldn't accommodate the whole team and some of them would be down the road. So Meredith threw his toys out of the cot and they all went back to Wales for the next few days, and that was played down by the British press.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, that was interesting. And then when they got down there, they went to Porthcawl, where they'd been staying, and they stayed in a hotel called the Esplanade at Porthcawl in Wales, where there was a golf course next door, and it was an ideal ground for an ideal location.
Yep.
For the preparation for this game. And on New Year's Eve in 1935, the Porthcawl Rugby Club invited the All Blacks to a New Year's Eve party at the casino in Porthcawl, and Meredith said, "Yeah, you can go, but you've got to be home by 12:30."
How did that go?
Well, all bar four of them got home by 12:30.
Yeah.
3 of them came in quarter of an hour late. Meredith, who was a real headmaster type, I don't want to offend any of my headmaster friends, but a very much disciplinarian, said to them, "You guys have let me down, you're not playing in the test," and it was their best halfback, their best first five, and their best winger.
Wow.
And the boys in the team thought he'd relent over the next day or two, or 3 or 4 before the test, but he didn't. And they lost that test in England, and it is very clear to me that they lost it because they played a halfback who was probably past his best,
Yep.
Certainly injury prone. They played a very talented but first five who was not good on defence, and they stood down a winger called George Hart, who was the only guy in the team capable of matching the skills of Obolensky, a Russian prince, who really shouldn't have been playing for England in any case because he wasn't a naturalised Englishman, but
keep in mind, they wanted to win.
Yeah. so that was. And the interesting thing is, one of the guys got home at 4 o'clock in the morning, but by that time Meredith was gone to bed. So
so he was all right.
So what goes on tour stays on tour. He got away with it.
Well, look, Coasters, the book's called The Gentle Giant. It's just been released. It's limited numbers, but that's just the way it is. I've put the website on the bottom of this post, and click in. You can buy it. In some cases, Russell's prepared to sign it for you. Am I right there? Or
yeah, no, you're right there. All the original ones, if there's a discount if it's bought directly, and there'll be a bookmark with it as a commemorative bookmark to mark the occasion.
And Russell, can they find that on your website?
They can find that on the website, which is gentlegiant.nz.
Yep.
No co. Gentlegiant.nz, and you can pick up that website on Google.
And I must congratulate you on the website. It's fantastic. It's been very well done.
Oh, you're kind.
Very well done.
You're kind again, Bruce.
All right. Well, look, Russell, let's keep moving. But can we have a look at the book once more? Can you lift that up a bit? Can you just lift it up there, Russell?
Right.
That's it. There she goes, folks. The Gentle Giant. A fantastic read. And who would have thought? All Black captain from Hokitika, from the West Coast. And you're about to read all about him. Russell, thanks so much.
I played tennis with
Coasters, look, don't worry about the noise in the background. These guys are... Now I'm with Russell King and Tanker Davidson, and we're talking about the Gentle Giant, because Russell spent the last 10 to 15 years researching this book, and it's now just been released. Excelsior Rugby Club seems to come into it. Well, Tank, what do you know about rugby?
Well, I played against Excelsior, way back in the 80s there, and they weren't that strong in those days.
Right.
St Mary's sort of...
they were pretty strong, weren't they?
Yeah, always sort of come out on top there. But when I was a young lad, back in the 60s, come down to the square, because we lived in Burleigh Street, then we walked down in Excelsior. They were a very dominant team on the coast back then. So that's about it from Excelsior from me. But Russell, you know more about the Excelsior.
Well, I remember the sort of West Coast sides at that time, because my dad used to put me in the car and we'd come down to Hokitika for practice for his coast team, and there were people like Eric Walker, who was the sort of doyen of Excelsior, and Eric came to the West Coast from Southland. He had a reputation when he came here. I think he was very unlucky not to be selected for the All Blacks, and perhaps if he'd been in a major union, that would have been a piece of cake, but he didn't quite get there. I think he played for South Island. But they had a great team. There was a great Hokitika mob in those days that Eric, the Stoop brothers on the wing, Francie Gugic, Ray Breeze at centre.
Francie's still around?
Is he?
Yeah, definitely.
And then in the forwards there was a big guy called Gundy McLean, and he and I think he locked the scrum with Dowie Eastgate, Ron Eastgate, who was Peter Eastgate, the All Blacks' brother.
Right.
So they were a formidable lot, and I can see my dad painting leather rugby balls white so they could see them, because the lighting when they were training in the dusk was not good. It was not like the days of modern lighting.
Good practical solution.
Yeah, but the camaraderie between them was, I think, the thing that that teamsmanship that was very much part of the Ron King approach to rugby. That you played 15-man rugby, you capitalised on the individual skills, but made them into a team.
Tanker, Ron King's closest mates were Davidsons in Hokitika Fire Brigade.
Yeah, that's right.
So they'd be your uncles, would they?
Yeah, Melky Davidson. Yeah, and of course, Melky, he played a lot of rugby for West Coast, and also I think he was a selector back in the day.
Right.
But with Dad at one stage.
Yeah, and
Melky was a halfback, wasn't he?
Yeah, halfback. Yeah. And of course,
they chalk and cheese.
They had great respect, and my father included, for Ron King. Really really great respect for him.
Tank, you've been in the football scene for years. How come Ron King isn't on a building or a park or something here? All Black captain, you know.
Well, if he was, they'd pull him down now because that's what they're doing about the statues and stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting though, isn't
Yeah,
it? Yeah. Look, I know there's a lot of people I've talked to who were unaware that Ron King was the All Black captain.
Yeah.
Completely unaware. Yeah. And so, Russell, the guys that like Eric Walker, now Eric's still alive and kicking. I met him recently. He's older, of course. He's becoming quite frail. But your father must have had a really close relationship with all of those guys.
Well, I think he did. I think he'd never ball anybody out. He'd put them on the sideline if they didn't perform.
Yeah.
But I think he had this reputation of being gentle with people, and that's where the Gentle Giant comes from.
That's where the name comes from.
Yeah.
Well, Tank, we're going to see a Davidson book?
No, well, my brother Alan, he'd be the man to ask that.
I'll catch him next time with him.
Yeah, but just on your brother Jeff, he was a referee, and there was a photo of myself and Kevin Ford. We played against the British Lions back in 1983 it was, and it was just on Facebook the other day, and Jeff put a comment in there about me being the biggest cheat on the field, you know. But I was going to put a comment in there, you know, that's true, but if he was refereeing, he'd be the biggest cheat.
Well, Coasters, I'm with Russell King, and we're at the old Hokitika fire station, which has now been converted into upmarket boutique accommodation. And there's a photo here. Now, Russell, what's the significance of the photo?
Well, the guys were faded extensively before they went away. Farewells in Hokitika. This is my dad with his mates from the Hokitika Fire Brigade.
That looks like
Melky Davidson.
Melky Davidson. It is too.
You know, great mates. Grew up together, played rugby together, this would be Friday the 26th of July in 1935, for the day before they went bush. And then the next day, of course, on the express train out of Greymouth, where he joined up with the other West Coast All Black, Mike Gilbert. Mike Gilbert was the only fullback in the tour. He is the only person on the tour who played more games than Dad.
Wow.
They were struck by injuries, and it's for that reason that they were expected to play 2 games a week, usually Thursdays and Saturdays.
Yep.
But in test week, it was Tuesday and Saturday. Not every test. Before the English test and before the Welsh test, they had a week off, but they pushed them pretty hard in those days.
Look, Coasters, we're at the Hokitika fire station, and I'm with Russell King as he launches his book, which is called Gentle Giant. Here it is here. It's just been released, and Russell, it's available on your website, www.gentlegiant.nz.
Correct.
And my understanding is that if they select the button that goes direct to you, that you'll even put a note in the in the book.
Yeah. Correct. Correct.
Yeah. Hey folks, if you're grinning there, it's just that someone
We nearly got run over.
We nearly got run over. It's all part of it.
It's all part of a fun day out.
Oh, I love it. Well, look, there we go, Coasters. Gentle Giant, author Russell King. Russell's back home and decided that the launch of the book should be in Hokitika and Greymouth and on the coast. And Russell, it's great to see you. And you're looking so young for a man of your...
Tender years.
Yes, tender years. Look, enjoy yourself.
Thank you, Bruce.
Well, Coasters, I'm with Russell King, the author of Gentle Giant, and have a look at where we are. Isn't it beautiful, Russell?
Oh, it's a gorgeous place. I just love this lake.
We're out here on a bit of a misty coast day, and we get the odd one like that. It's not every day. Russell, the book Gentle Giant, you've got it in your hand there.
I have.
Here we go, folks. Have a look at this. Now, it's just been released, and you can go onto the website. I'll put the link at the bottom of this post. It's written by Russell King. He's investigated it and researched it now for well over 10 years, Russell, wouldn't it?
All of that, Bruce, yes.
Now, I love the section on your father, Ron King's fitness.
Right.
And that's why we're here.
Right. Well, in the early days, it was fitness, even in later times as a coach, fitness was paramount. But in those early days, and when you read about him on the field of play, he was never gasping for the last breath at the end of the game. And that was because this fitness thing, biking, they'd bike out, in a club sense, they'd bike out to Canary, swim across to the islands, and bike back into Hokitika. And then once a year they'd go and do the 3 passes, and they'd either go up through the back of Canary and through the sticks and onto Jackson's, and then come back by train, or do it the other way, go up by train and run back.
And do it all in a day?
No, they'd sleep in the ditch or on the way. But they were young fellas, and I think they had a different philosophy of life, the things that were important to them. There was no computers in those days, for goodness sake, and so the simple things of enjoying each other's company was part of it. But right through, he used to talk about his mates in the Excelsior Club that all did things together. They all dried their clothes in the same wind, sort of thing.
And it would make him quite an opponent on the other side of the field, because he'd be so fit.
Well, I think this is the thing that drove him, and in at the end of the book, there's a section called the epilogue, which talks about where writers of the day picked on this quality that he had in his game, that his understanding of the way the game was played, of strategies and things like that, was something that I've learned about in recent times as I've read articles about my dad and the way he played the game and the strategies, and there's a section which is very interesting where he was reported by a Christchurch Star Sun reporter, because he said, well, they're not coaching them properly. If they're playing on wet grounds, they should have long sprigs. And he said West Coasters have 2 sprigs, short sprigs for dry grounds, and long sprigs so you can get the grip and the scrum on the wet ground.
Yeah.
And those sorts of things would be these days would be run of the mill, but in those days, those sorts of strategies.
But unique.
Were unique, yeah.
Now, look, All Black captain,
Yeah.
An All Black, come from Hokitika, so a coaster.
Yeah.
And isn't it fantastic that at long last we've got some history in the Gentle Giant? And I've got to congratulate you, Russell. I've read it, and I actually found it in a number of places actually quite moving, in that it highlighted the things I had no idea about. Just incredible, and the links with the likes of the local Excelsior Rugby Club,
Yeah.
and Eric Walker and Francie Gugic and all of those guys.
Right.
Just incredible.
Yeah, and those things were of value. But the interesting thing is that my dad was, because of this, was well travelled, and you'll see there something that was in his scrapbook from a film star, the Marilyn Monroe of the day, was a woman called Florence Desmond.
Right.
And he had supper with her after going to a show that she appeared in, and her autograph is in the book, because the autograph's in my dad's scrapbook.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Which is and it's the scrapbook that the collection that they of the paper reports that I've been able to capitalise on to get get a lot of the information
And get those leads.
Get those leads.
Well, look, Russell, wonderful book. And coasters, Lake Canary, the book, The Gentle Giant. It's online. It's just been released. There's a limited number. You can go onto the website that's at the bottom of this post, and you can order your book. It's a must. If you're a coaster, it's a must. If you play rugby in New Zealand, it's a must. And I reckon there'll be overseas people, Russell, that now that this is about to be released, will crawl all over you looking for a copy. How's that?
Oh, you're kind, Bruce.
Catch you later. Well, coasters, I'm with Russell King again. He's a great coaster, and today he's showing us the jacket. And so we've got 1934, 35, 36, 37, 38. Is that the years that Ron, your father, played for the All Blacks?
Yeah, Bruce's first test was the second test in Australia in 1934.
Yeah.
He never missed a test till 38. The All Blacks didn't play in 39. In 40 he was a Monty to go to South Africa, and had he gone to South Africa on that trip and played in 2 games, he would have then been the most capped All Black of all time at that time. Of course, now they play as many matches as he played almost in 1 year. But he started his playing for West Coast in 1928, yeah, and was still playing in 1945 when he hung up his boots and took on the role of. He had a year off and then took on the role of selector coach for the coast. So it was a pretty long innings.
So, Russell, was he a big fella? Looking at the photos, he looks like a blooming giant.
Yeah, well, as one prominent All Black said to me, I must have come from the milkman. He was 6'2" and 14 stone when he was playing. Kept himself incredibly fit.
Yeah.
And never carried any extra weight. He's very mobile. He had a reputation of, well, he was regarded probably as, I don't think there's any doubt, he was the best forward in the world, certainly the best lock in the world in the late 1930s, at a time when individual positions of forwards started to become important. Previously, a forward was a forward, and we didn't have the specialist skills like we do these days with props and hookers and loosies and number 8s and the way that we now play the game. It was a different sort of game in those days.
They were tougher and fitter.
Yeah.
You know,
No biffing though. Meredith, their manager, told them that if they biffed anybody on the field, even if they were provoked, they'd be on the first boat home.
Wow.
You know, it was a gentleman's game, and that was the difference than the other rugby codes. It was genteel and proper, and the expectations of them were quite high. It's very interesting to learn about the expectations of them more off the field than on the field.
Well, Russell, it was fascinating going through your scrapbook and looking at the photos, and I mean they were truly ambassadors for New Zealand.
Oh, for sure. I think, as I said to you in another segment, that the Prime Minister of the day challenged them to represent the youth of New Zealand, and as such, it was as important as promoting our mutton, and as it was then, and lamb, and apples and butter.
Well, isn't it a great thing? I mean, here we are now, and you're slightly older than me, but you're not that much older, but you're in pretty good nick. And here we are now, and we're finding out about a famous West Coast person. You know, have we ever had another All Black who was captain of the All Blacks on the coast? We haven't had many All Blacks, have we?
No. There's been talented West Coasters and Buller people who've gone away.
Yep.
There was actually a very, very good winger from the Buller who should have been part of this team and wasn't selected. A guy who was a prolific goalkeeper called Ed Holder. And it was a bit of a surprise that he wasn't included in this group that went away. But no, we've exported our talent too often, and I guess that's the way of the world here.
Well, I guess one of the things I'd like to do is congratulate you on the research that you've done on the book. It is outstanding. And Coasters, if you want to buy a copy, just click on the link that's on this post, and it'll go through to Russell. You'll get a book. And Russell, you said that you're even prepared to perhaps put a message for them.
Yeah, well, if you book it direct, it comes with a bookmark, and if you want a message for you,
Yep.
or for your friends, your mother-in-law or whatever, I can do that.
Look,
that's easy.
That's fantastic. And Coasters, it's on the website www.gentlegiant.nz, and it's simple to use. It's a very clean, very professional website. I must say, I think I can learn a lot from that, Russell, with that particular one. And that's your dad's jacket.
That's my dad's jacket.
Wow.
I don't fit into it, Bruce. I haven't got his physique.
Oh, that's after all these years.
I could go swimming in it.
I love it. Look, Russell, good luck with the book. And look, we'll certainly be doing all we can to encourage people to get a copy and catch up with the history. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, Coasters, I'm with Russell King, the author of Gentle Giant. And it's a book about his dad, Ron King, Hokitika boy, All Black and All Black captain. And I asked Russell, Harry, where did he get his information from? So let's have a look. You're on.
Well, Bruce, this is my dad's scrapbook. Each of the people in each of the 28 players in the 1935-36 All Blacks had one of these. I've seen Eric Tyndall's, I've seen Merv Corners, and those people, my dad's offspring,
yep.
My dad's footballing friends' offspring have been very helpful with things. But this is my dad's scrapbook, and as they tripped around the country, around England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales, they collected cuttings from the papers, and so my dad has put this all together, and there's all sorts of interesting things. And a lot of these photos you'll see in the book, where I've been able to... There, for instance, is there with the Archbishop Dr. Downey in Liverpool, talking about the site that he had, New Liverpool Cathedral. That's an interesting photograph there. That's the after-match dinner of after the English Test, the last game of the tour, and you can see how they're all dressed up in their dicky seats. And
that's Russell. That's really formal, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's in the Hotel Metropole in London, where it's now a Hilton. It's been refurbished, but it was a hotel that had been commandeered by the British government during the First World War, and Churchill says that I think he was in charge of military in the First World War. He was a relatively senior parliamentarian in those days, and he reckons that he heard the bells ringing from that building when the war ended.
Wow.
5-star accommodation, as they travelled first class on the boats. And this one here's a menu from the Duchess of York, where they travelled from Liverpool initially, stopped off in Greenock or Gurrick.
Isn't that great? Cheerio. Cheerio, chaps.
This was their last night on the boat before they got into Canada. And as they went across Canada, it was the coldest winter that they had known there. They weren't able to go down the St. Lawrence Seaway. They had to land at Halifax. And until there were 3 days before they got to the Rockies by train, and snow all the way.
It must have been spectacular.
Quite interesting.
Oh, it'd have to be.
There's some shots in the book of my dad tobogganing in Montreal.
Wow. And so, Russell, the Gentle Giant is going to open a lot of eyes, isn't it? and a lot of minds in relation to what's almost been a hidden secret.
Yeah, well, it'll show people the way that rugby players toured 80 odd years ago, the things that were expected of them, the Prime Minister of the day, when he farewelled them, told them that their expectation of them to be ambassadors for the country, that the youth of the country, the sportsmen of the country, and that they were as important as the mutton and lamb and butter and apple exports that they sent away in the day. So they used the All Blacks as a marketing tool in those days, and I guess in a similar sort of way as we see the All Black image today, which typifies things that are good about our country.
Well, Russell, there'll be a lot of coasters that want to buy your book, and there'll be a lot of people around the country. Best way to get it, I guess, is on your website.
Correct. Gentlegiant.nz is the website. There are a couple of options there. You can buy it direct from the publishers, or you can get it discounted by buying it direct, and that will come with a bookmark, which I'll be happy to put a message on it if you want to gift it to somebody.
Oh, that's fabulous. What a great idea. Well, there we go, coasters. It's Russell King. Hey, he's a well-known coaster. He's an author. He's an architect. And he's a real good guy. Russell, thanks for your time. And coasters, if you want to order the book, the link's on the page here. Just go ahead and click the link. Catch you later, Russell.
Thanks, Bruce.
Here we go, coasters. Look, I'm in Hokitika today, and I'm with Russell King, author, and Russell's written a book about his father, Ron King. Ron King, Hokitika family, an All Black captain. And the book, I've read the book, and I've got to say, I'm really, really impressed. Russell, thanks for talking to us. It's fantastic. What's the story with the wee football there?
Well, Bruce, this is a model of a Gilbert ball. That was the original rugby ball, developed out of Eton. The Gilberts had their factory. The story's in the book. The tour, my dad and his mates visited the factory whilst they were in the UK.
Yep.
They did a lot of signing. They did a hell of a lot of autograph signing in all sorts of occasions. Sometimes when it was known that they were going to a movie, people would thrust autograph books. Before they went, they had signing sessions, and this one is. So
are they all the All Black signatures on there?
All Black signatures on there. There's
From
Ron King is the fourth one down.
Yep.
And so they did these.
And what year would that have been done?
That would be 35, and that would have probably been done before they departed.
Okay.
But I'm not sure of that.
Isn't that
so there you are.
Incredible.
It's a little cutie, eh?
Oh, it's what a great bit of history.
Real leather.
Yeah.
And one day we might be able to get those signatures enhanced, because there's so much capability with computers these days that we might be able to get that improved. But it's a bit of a treasure.
Oh, I just love it. Well, there we go, coasters. The link to buy this just released book, and there's limited numbers, is on this post, and very simple to use. It's actually a really good website. I quite like the look of it. Russell, thanks for first of all, thanks for bringing to the attention of the coast in the first instance the history of your father, because many of us, it's fair to say, probably didn't have any idea.
Yeah, but it's a long time ago, Bruce.
It is, but we're all proud of our fathers and our grandfathers.
Right.
It's how it goes.
History is very important to us, isn't it? Where we come from moulds our character, I guess.
Oh, look, most certainly does, and isn't it great to see Russell King back home? He's home in Hokitika, and he's bought this magnificent book, and I'm doing a number of videos with him, and just to flesh out what's in the book and how we get hold of it, and because of the small numbers being printed, I'm worried that some will miss out. So don't muck around. Just click on the link. Russell, thanks so much. Hey, enjoy your day at home.
I'm having a great day, Bruce.
Well, folks, we're at Rugby Park in Greymouth, and it's a muggy sort of a day, but hey, no rain, and I'm here with Russell King. And look at that. Alan Adams stand. Now, where did that name come from?
Well, Alan Adams was a great administrator of West Coast rugby in the 1930s. He was actually a New Zealand selector, and he was part of the selection panel that picked the 1935-36 All Blacks. They had a panel of 5, I think, and the chairman of the New Zealand Rugby Union of the time as an arbitrator if they couldn't agree. And they started selecting this 1935 team in 1934 to get continuity, to get the best of New Zealand off. So my dad several times took me into Alan Adams' house. He'd call in to see him from time to time. He lived in Shakespeare Street. Great old man. Don't know what he did. I don't think anybody much knew what he did, but I think he might have been well-heeled from English origins or something like that. One of those people who didn't have to work.
But look at that. Now, the Russell, the book, what have we got there?
Oh, well, this is Gentle Giant, of course.
Gentle Giant. Author Russell King. And it's all and it's all about your dad, Ron King.
Yeah.
And here we are at Rugby Park. Now, Ron must have sat up in that stands on many occasions and watched you playing rugby because, you know, I mean, I'm sure that... Were you a chip off the old block?
Hell no. He'd be totally embarrassed. I think he was proud one day when the Grey Star, when I was about 7 or 8, included a clipping of the final between Greymouth United and Greymouth Marist, and Russell King was the star of the backs. But I don't think I ever went any further. In fact, rugby was an embarrassment to me when I went to college, and I didn't want to go. I didn't want to be there. I wanted to stay with my mates here.
Yeah.
I was at college 3 or 4 days, and I got called in to meet the first 15 coach, and my dad was his hero. And he took one look at me, and I was 4'8" and under 5 stone. And he looked and went, "You're not as big as your old man." And I won't tell you what I thought because I didn't use those words
of course you don't.
Those days. But I hated rugby for a period, and you know, I played in the flyweights for a couple of years, and I never really got much interested in rugby. But when I finished at university, I decided I'd join an obscure club in Christchurch, and I played for Sunnyside Spraydon for a year, and then I moved back here and played for Cobden. Had a wonderful time with all my second cousins from the Burroughses and the Hannahs. They all played for Cobden at the sort of the Ahara mob who came down in
and that'd have been a pretty strong team, wouldn't they?
Oh, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
There was guys like Johnny Birchfield, Jimmy de Goldie. They were all Cobden stalwarts, and it was a great club. That Cobden community was pretty strong in those days. And I remember one day my dad ringing me on a Sunday and saying, "Hey, get your football gear on. We've got a Ditman Shield match. I've only got 14 players I want you to play, but make sure you bloody tackle." And that was the period of my life. So I played one great game for Grey against Anangahua on the racecourse at Reefton.
Oh, I love it.
But that was all good fun. But you know, living in the shadow of a All Black, of my dad's prowess, and was not an easy life.
Well, All Black captain, you know, incredible player, big fella like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
And now the King family, of course, started off in Waiuta, then into Hokitika.
Yeah.
And then we lost you. You come to Greymouth, and you spent a fantastic part of your life in Greymouth. It's been very close to you.
Well, when I came back from university, and with a few letters after my name, I just hung my shingle out for a while, but I really wanted to get back into the hotel industry, and I was very lucky that a family allowed me to grow the hotel, and they were exciting times. And my big regret is that I spent 10 years away, and that was the time when all my mates were maturing.
Yep.
And by the time I came back, a lot of them had gone. And it's funny now, in 2020, I'm catching up with some of these schoolmates from primary school days at Greymouth, and reminiscing. And they were good times. This was a great place to grow up in.
I was born in Greymouth. It's a special place, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's got a great heart.
Now the book Gentle Giant, you've put, it's quite clear to me you've put at least 10 years of your life into research. It's a wonderful read, and for the coasters and people watching this, it's all about Ron King, All Black, All Black captain, family man, Hokitika based, Greymouth based, incredibly well known. And Russell, you've put the history together in a fantastic way, you really have. So looking at the book, there it is, Gentle Giant. It's now released and you can buy it. It's the web. You've got a website, Russell, haven't you?
Yeah, www.gentlegiant.nz.
.nz.
Yep.
And you can buy. You just put your details in, away you go.
Correct. It's easy. It's so easy you wouldn't believe it.
And
the people who did the website for me encapsulated what I wanted: something simple and something clear, and something honourable. That's what this book is about.
I've got to tell you, I think the website is fantastic and the book's brilliant. Well, there we go, coasters. Now, what I've done is I put the link to buy the Gentle Giant on this post. Just click on it, and if you go to the private, there's two types of orders, but one goes directly to Russell, and he will put a bookmark in there. And if you want a message put on it, because you'll probably be giving this to someone special, Russell, you'll put the gift on.
That's easy. That's easy.
Now, can you see? Did you ever play on this park?
Oh yes.
Did you?
But probably not very well. Yeah, no, it's a great ground, and lovingly maintained by the West Coast Rugby Union. They do a good job, and you know, in your role of trying to keep sporting facilities up to scratch.
She's hard work.
In our climate, or in this climate, I can't call it our climate now, can I? In this climate is jolly hard work, and you've got to take your hat off to the people who slave away to keep these facilities in top class notch.
Well, there we go, folks. It's Russell King, author, coaster, and he's written a book called The Gentle Giant, and it's about the most capped All Black we have on the coast. His father, Ron King, All Black captain, played in heaps of games. In fact, at one stage, Russell, I read in the book, he was almost the most capped player.
Yeah. He if he'd gone to South Africa in 1940, he would have been the most capped player of all time. But he played 142 first-class matches, and that was a fair score in those days. And it spanned over 15 or 16 years.
Well, there we go, folks. Hey, we're in Greymouth. Beautiful day. And Russell, thanks so much for spending the time to tell us about the book, because I know there's a lot of us want to get in and get it ordered.
Good on you, Bruce.
Look, guys, thanks for talking to us here. The Gentle Giant, on tour with the Jubilee All Blacks, written by Russell King. This is Russell, young Russell, coming up 80, Russell.
Afraid so.
Unbelievable. You're in such good condition. Now, you can buy coasters or any of the All Black fraternity that are out there, the rugby fraternity. You want to buy this book, the website's on this post. Just click on the website. It's nice and easy to follow, and you can order it. It is limited copy, so you've got to keep that in mind. So there's only a limited number. But Russell, you've done a great job, man alive.
Oh, you're very generous.